A very warm welcome and good evening to this Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission Series. This is the kickoff session, which is being conducted in partnership with the National Health Authority by NatHealth. We are very, very pleased to have with us the key architects of the National Digital Health Mission, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, led by Dr. R.S. Sharma, the Chief Executive Officer, National Health Authority, Dr. Praveen Gedam, and we have representatives, we have the entire leadership team of NatHealth, led by President Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Ms. Amira Shah, NatHealth past presidents, Brigadier Dr. Arvind Lal, Mr. Daljit Singh, and representatives and leaders from a number of other healthcare associations and federations spread across AHPI, ASSOCHAM, AHEI, AMC, AOH, APACMed, FICCI, ICC, IMA, PhD Chamber of Commerce, ANEI, FHA Karnataka, MTI, and FANA. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. The objectives of this webinar, this entire series of webinars is three-pronged. One is to gain a better understanding of the digital health building blocks and the architecture. And who better to tell it than the architects, the chief architects themselves. The second objective is to dispel myths, embrace facts, and remove roadblocks towards adoption. Third is create a dialogue that speeds up rapid scale up as well as adoption of the digital health roadmap ahead. Without further ado, I would like to take the opportunity to invite Dr. Harsh Mahajan, President NatHealth, to kindly give the opening welcome address, please, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siddhartha. At the outset, please do forgive my informal clothes. I've just rushed from the airport. My flight was late. So do pardon me for that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Harsh Mahajan. I'm a practicing radiologist and the president of NatHealth. I'm extremely delighted to welcome you all at the launch of Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission webinar series organized by NatHealth in collaboration with the National Health Authority. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. This series targets to bring together all stakeholders, public as well as private, on one platform to discuss widespread adoption and implementation of ABDM. This is a word we will soon learn very quickly. Various aspects of ABDM implementation like design, the challenges, infrastructure needs, role of startups, etc., will be covered through a string of webinars. The series will serve as the myth buster for NDHM's futuristic vision and open doors for multiple stakeholders to willingly fuse with the vision of NDHM. Let me mention here that NatHealth has convened a workshop recently on the digital roadmap of India, where industry agreed to align on several areas like removing resistance to change and resolving interoperability issues, aligning track with NDHM and formulating standards, providing assistance to startups and creating a coherent digital pathway, studying global systems and adopting some of those that are successful globally, data ownership and cybersecurity issues, which are very, very important, and last but not the least, ensuring last mile connectivity. The ABDM webinar series will cover many of these topics and build a common awareness for us to collaboratively adopt the digital health roadmap of India. Several myths and misinformation will be dispelled as the key architects of the digital health strategy will answer all questions. I'm indeed honored to have NHA dignitaries join me for this auspicious occasion. An extremely warm welcome to Dr. R.S. Sharma ji, CEO NHA, and Dr. Pradeep Praveen Gedam, Additional CEO and Mission Director, ABDM. India's health initiatives are taking great strides under Mr. Sharma's leadership, which we have seen in the recent past. He has a distinguished career in the Government of India and state governments, leading reforms and leveraging IT to simplify administrative processes. He has contributed to shaping India's policies in information and communication technologies and has undertaken big infrastructure projects in railways, ports, airports, and highways. His contribution in telecommunication and broadcasting sectors are well known to all. Under his guidance, India was able to develop the world's largest identity system, UIDAI, capable of biometrically authenticating every individual resident in the country. He has also authored a book, The Making of Aadhaar, world's largest identity platform. And if you don't have a copy, I will urge you to get one today. On a personal note, having spoken to many who have worked under him in the Indian Administrative Services, he was forever known as the computer man in Bihar and in Jharkhand, to which cadre he belongs. Let me also say that these sessions are being disseminated across all industry federations and companies, both directly and through our social media platforms. I welcome all federation leaders who are joining us today and thank them for the support they have offered. The private sector stands together, stands in solidarity, and will work hand in hand to make the government's digital mission successful. We will all, sir, speak in one voice. Let me take a minute to thank the federation leaders who are joining us today for this remarkable event. Requesting you all to please switch on your cameras. Dr. Girdhar Gyani from Association of Healthcare Providers of India, AHPI. Dr. Upasana Arora from ASSOCHAM. Mr. Sanjay Prasad from Association of Hospitals of Eastern India. Dr. Sushmita Bhatnagar from Association of Medical Consultants of Maharashtra. Mr. Gautam Khanna, Associations of Hospitals of Maharashtra and Mumbai, Mr. Anirudh Sen from APACMED, Dr. Arvind Lal from FICCI, Mr. Prashant Sharma from the Indian Chamber of Commerce, Dr. J.A. Jayalal from the Indian Medical Association, its president, Dr. Samir Gupta from PhD Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Thankam Gomez from the Association of Nurse Executives, Dr. Nagendra Swamy from Federation of Healthcare Association of Karnataka, Mr. Pawan Chaudhary from MTI, and Dr. Prasanna from FANA. I thank each one of you for your support for this mission, and let's take a pledge together that we will all drive this mission along with the government to unprecedented success. Siddhartha, it's now over to you. Welcome everyone again. And Siddhartha, please take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahajan. Thank you for introducing our dignitaries. Before we request the CEO NHA to give his keynote address, I would request the past presidents of Nat Health, Brigadier Dr. Arvind Lal and Mr. Daljit Singh, to say a few words. Thank you, sir. Dr. Lal, over to you, sir, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siddhartha. And sir, it's an honor and pleasure to be with you again. And I would like to start off by saying that India has embarked on a digital health journey with the launch of ABDM. But however, there is a need for more clarity on how thousands of providers, including hospitals, labs, general practitioner clinics, etc., across private health and public health will be supported in undertaking digitization and integrations. The success of ABDM will depend on the ability to onboard vast number of public and private health providers to adopt digital health solutions and standards to build digital health ecosystem. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, METI, and various other government bodies offer IT solutions like e-Aspatal, HMIS, telemedicine, etc. But very limited number of providers have leveraged these solutions due to lack of, what is very common, nothing new for you, incentives for embarking on digital transformations. Unless a well thought out roadmap is articulated for ABDM to provide technical and financial incentivization to vast number of small and larger providers, the mission is very unlikely to achieve great success. The capital and operational expenses could be factored as a subsidy and or indirect tax incentives. Further, we need to integrate our digital system with the entire continuum of care through digital referral system. Taking the learnings from the COVID-19 pandemic in India, there is a need to further integrate public and private referral transport systems with single citizen interface with mobile-based aggregation of referral transports without geographical boundaries like mobile app-based cab services. So I'd like to stop here, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brigadier Lal. First of all, a great welcome to our honored guests, Dr. Sharma and Dr. Praveen Gedam, and many other friends and colleagues who are there on this August session, basically. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the government for a very, very big, hairy, audacious initiative that they've actually embarked upon. And there was no better time than to do it now, when the entire country has a very, very high level of mobile penetration, when the Aadhaar initiative has taken roots and pretty much everybody is electronically connected in our entire country, basically. So the ground is set, the soil is fertile, and we need to move. I believe that the overarching objective of this great initiative is to accelerate our journey towards access, affordability, and reliability. The three elusive goals that we've been pursuing for the last several decades. And we hope that technology is going to enable us to leapfrog our way very fast into the future. And we look forward to your leadership as to how this can actually happen very, very fast. Whereas Brigadier Lal and Dr. Mahajan have very well articulated the expectations from this seminar, I do believe that that it's critical to demystify the implications of this entire initiative to healthcare providers, diagnostic centers, and everybody who's part of the healthcare ecosystem. And there are three broad domains that need to be addressed, I believe. Number one is, why are we doing this change? Why the rationale behind this change? Number two, implications on advancement of healthcare services to the citizens of our country, and how every Indian, every citizen can actually be covered in a meaningful manner. And third, which probably is the most critical one, that how will this be achieved? How will this change happen? Whilst actions will be required at hospitals, clinics, diagnostic centers, and pretty much every player in the healthcare ecosystem, a lot will need to be done on the ground to make it happen. So, sirs, we are really looking forward to your sharing with us details of the roadmap ahead, the challenges, and how we intend to overcome them. So we look forward to a very, very engaging seminar. Thank you for agreeing to kick off this series of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Daljit. Thank you, Brigadier Dr. Lal. I'm very, very privileged to respectfully request Dr. Ram Sevak Sharma, Chief Executive Officer, National Health Authority, to kindly give his keynote address, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth ji. First of all, a very good afternoon to you all. And secondly, I would like to say that both Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Arvind Lalji, and Dr. Daljit Singh, they have very clearly articulated both the positives in terms of why do we need this, and secondly, the necessary actions which probably need to be taken to ensure that the mission is accelerated. So I'm really thankful to them for these great sort of inputs. I'm also very happy, and I want to congratulate NetHealth for organizing this web series, which actually will go a long way in demystifying many of the facets of ABDM, and also sort of clarifying as to what are the imperatives on the overall health scenario in this country. So I think that's very, very important. I just want to share with you my thought process in a very brief 8 to 10 minutes as to how we really think, why we really think, first of all, why should this be done? That's number one. And secondly, why do we think that this can be done? It is possible to do it in this country. And the third thing which I would like to say, what are the relative advantages which our country has vis-a-vis other countries who have tried it in the past, and many of them have only partially succeeded? What is it that we have which others don't have, and what will make it more probable to succeed? So just these 3 points I like to make. So the first point is, why is it necessary? So it is necessary from a number of, after all, the overall objective of any healthcare system is the affordability, the access, and the quality. These 3 are very, very essential parameters of any healthcare delivery systems. Now the question is, what means can be adopted in order to improve these 3 things: the affordability, access, and the quality? And we feel that today we are in a position where we can utilize and leverage technology, information and communication technology, to improve on all 3 aspects which I mentioned just now. One is, there are places in India which are highly inaccessible. As you know, India is an extremely diverse country. There are facilities in terms of infrastructure variability, in terms of education, in terms of literacy, in terms of languages. I mean, this is a very, very varied country. It's a large number of countries in some sense that can subsume many countries and many cultures. So it's important that we improve the access, because there are areas where there are no doctors. And while I agree that, for hospitalization, one will have to travel, one can probably, consult a doctor using information technology, even in remote areas. So it will improve access. Secondly, it will improve the affordability, in the sense that if you can digitally consult a doctor, you don't have to travel. That's number one. So that will basically travel cost. I have seen, in AIIMS, people come from all over the country, and they just, hire some dharamsala, and they keep on staying together, and they, get into the line at 4 a.m. and then, get out of it at 12, because they have not got the vacancy and stuff like that. So can we ensure, even for that system, a reservation system, a system where one can online create reservations in the hospitals, in any department, so that they don't have to wait here in Delhi at the mouth of the front of the hospital. So that's another part which we think that it will make things more affordable. And certainly, if digital tools are used in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning, many other tools, I'm sure it will improve the quality and the kind of knowledge base which has been built, the research which is being built, and if that becomes shareable using the information and communication technology, it certainly will improve the quality. So I think we are convinced that if we appropriately use information and communication technology in delivering health services, we certainly can make lives of the people better. And that's the whole purpose as to why we think we want to do it. Situations are also quite conducive for this to happen. Pandemic has had disastrous impact on the countries around the world, and our own country is no exception. But there are 2-3 important things which this pandemic taught us. One is the digital kind of interaction among people. So people have now started using, these means. For example, we are all talking on, this video conferencing, and we are as convenient and as comfortable as we would have been if we were all sitting in a room. Of course, we are not able to have a cup of tea together. That obviously video conferencing cannot replace that. But nevertheless, I think we have learned, and not only we here in the urban areas, even rural areas, people, because of the low data cost in this country, because of the ubiquitous availability of mobile telephony in this country, people are now doing video calls among their family members, their loved ones. People of Jharkhand may be living in Delhi, but they are talking almost every day on a video call, so that they are able to, so they have become very comfortable. So I think we have become very comfortable. And I would say this is a myth. One of the myths is that, there is a huge digital exclusion, and India, even if you have technology, people don't use it. I don't agree with that. In fact, India is one of the few countries which is using, the per capita consumption of data in this country is 12 gigabytes of data per month, per person. Now, this is 4 times high than the mobile data consumption of United States of America. In fact, you will be surprised to know that our mobile telephonic networks are transmitting and transporting more data than US and China put together. And I'm talking of mobile to mobile comparison. I'm not saying that, they have a very good fixed line networks and that may be transporting much more data, but their mobile networks and our mobile networks, if you make that apple to apple comparison. So it is, Indians are talking 600 minutes per month per, person on an average. So every day, 20 minutes, every Indian is talking, and we are having 1.18 billion phone connections. We have 700 million, internet connections and 600 million smartphones. So I think if you give technology at an affordable rate in a convenient manner, Indians use it. And I have no doubt on that. Imagine there have been, authentication, for example, people did not understand what is authentication and what is the use of that authentication. Now people understand, authentication means that you can prove who you are, who you claim to be, even in a remote manner, and get service deliveries done. And we have had 57 billion authentications. Can you believe it? 5,700 crore authentication during the last 8-9 years of journey since when we started authentication by Aadhaar. People are, getting ration, people are getting mobile connections, people are opening bank accounts. So all these things are happening. So one is COVID has, more accelerated use of digital in terms of payment, in terms of, for example, we have had 4.26 billion, transactions on UPI last month, in the month of October. So I think India is now using technology in a very big way. And I think that's another very, very positive stuff, which actually encourages us that users of digital technologies in health sector is also going to happen in a big way, which will actually provide all 3 desirable attributes of quality, affordability, and accessibility. Another thing which is very important, people often compare, that something did not succeed in America. People give me examples in Obamacare. Obama gave thousands of dollars and trillions of dollars to the labs and other things, but they never, switched to digital. Now, those comparisons are really not very appropriate. Let me put it this way. No country in the world has been able to create a digital identity of the type which India has created, which is actually, we said this is just a number, and just a small number, 12-digit random number, what kind of magic that number can play. So essentially the kind of architecture which we have adopted and which we have now become expert in gives us a tremendous amount of hope and tremendous amount of confidence that we can do it completely differently than what West has done. So therefore, I just don't agree with those kinds of hypotheses saying that, oh, they could not do it. How could we do it? How can we do it? They could not do many things. In digital, we have just leapfrogged. We have really not followed the path which many countries have followed. And in fact, in digital, not having a legacy is a positive, is a great positive. Those guys have got smart cards. Now, if we had smart cards for identity, we would need to have smart card readers everywhere, which is so difficult. We would have had to have Bijli everywhere, which is not so available. So I think the frugal infrastructure, yet a robust infrastructure and a robust design of products has actually shown a completely different way. The recent example is COVID. COVID, when people, when we started COVID in the month of January, everybody was saying, oh, ये तो काम नहीं करेगा, ये तो क्या भाई छोटा मोटा सॉफ्टवेयर बनाने वाला कहाँ से ये ले आया है, कुछ नहीं होगा, ये glitch हो जाएगा. And the first day, the main news story on every television channel was COVID platform has broken down. वो तो glitch आ गया उसमें, वो चलता नहीं है. Now I think they have all revised their stories. Now they are saying, what is the next thing which you are going to bring on COVID? So imagine we have just done 1.14 billion, transactions on COVID. At one point in time, we were doing 1,000 transactions per second on COVID. So we now know how to build scalable architectures, interoperable architectures. There are 100 plus, partners on COVID. So it's not we have not built an application. We have built just a platform. We have just built a network on which others can just connect in a very seamless manner using standard APIs which are published. So this open architecture is not an afterthought. It's actually ingrained in the design itself. So what I'm saying is, with this kind of experience, and with this kind of penetration of digital infrastructure, the connectivity infrastructure, with the kind of digital products which we have made, digital public goods which we have made in the government sector, which is identity, payment, authentication, electronic KYC, digital locker, everything, electronic signatures which are on demand. These artifacts actually are the enabling Lego blocks for building a structure. So they are like, when you build some खिलौना से बनाते हैं, कुछ महल बना दिया, you need some components. These are digital components which will make it happen. So that's something which I want to put before you. And let me also, the last part, which I think what was pointed out, to demystify as to what this is. People have a lot of misconceptions. Privacy khatam ho jayegi, data mera lut jayega. I mean, this is a typical people who make everything of too much of this debate on privacy, because we have Aadhaar was challenged on the basis of privacy, and Aadhaar was made in the year 2009-10. That time there was not such a debate on privacy. Privacy was declared fundamental right in 2018. Now imagine at that point in time we said we are making privacy by design. We are incorporating privacy in the Aadhaar design. And that proved successful, that in the year 2018, the Supreme Court declared that Aadhaar does not violate privacy. Now that could happen only because we were very thoughtful of the design we made. So be absolutely sure that the design which we are making for this entire ABDM is privacy preserving. It is privacy enhancing. It gives the control of the data to the patient. It is basically consent-based framework, because we have a consent artifact, also a digital consent artifact. So I think all those concerns have been taken care of and will continue to be taken care of. Now comes the question that, there is a house, there's a beautiful design which has been done. Now who is going to live in this house? This house will be a vacuous, concept if there's no inhabitant in the house, and you are the inhabitants. You are the ones who are going to manage this house. You are the ones who are going to promote this house. And only when we all collectively promote this concept, only then this concept will happen. Otherwise, R.S. Sharma ji and Praveen Gedam साहब मिला के बहुत सुंदर आर्किटेक्चर बना के रख देंगे, जिसको कोई लेने वाला नहीं होगा, जिसको कहेगा भाई हमको जरूरत नहीं है इसकी, हम तो ऐसे ही ठीक है, हम तो ऐसे ही अच्छा काम चल रहा है, हमारा क्या जरूरत है इसको करने की। तो ये भी एक हो सकता है, ऐसा हो सकता है। तो इसलिए हम ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि हम जो है ये घर बना के और बड़े प्रसन्न हैं, हम घर बना के बिल्कुल प्रसन्न नहीं है। और इसीलिए हम चाहते हैं कि आप सबके साथ बैठ के, आप सबके साथ कलेक्टिवली इस घर की डिजाइन में आपका सहयोग प्राप्त करें, आपका बिल्कुल कंसल्टेशन करें हम आपके साथ। और इसीलिए देखेंगे आप कि पिछले 4-5 महीनों में हम लोगों ने 3 कंसल्टेशन पेपर निकाले, यूनिफाइड हेल्थ इंटरफेस का, हेल्थ फैसिलिटी रजिस्ट्री का, पर्सनल हेल्थ जो आपका डॉक्टर्स रजिस्ट्री, जो क्या कहते हैं उसको, हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल रजिस्ट्री का, और उसके बाद हम लोग PHR के एप्लीकेशंस, बाकी सब चीजें, ड्रग रजिस्ट्री का, ये सारे के सारे पूरी की पूरी प्रोसेस हमारी कंसल्टेटिव प्रोसेस है। वी आर नॉट रियली गोइंग अबाउट डूइंग थिंग्स ऑफ आवर ओन, वी कैनॉट, वी आर अवेयर। यू सी, आधार वाज अ डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट। आधार, एवरीथिंग वाज अंडर आवर कंट्रोल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट के पास पैसा था। वी एक्चुअली अपॉइंटेड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स एज आवर रजिस्ट्रार, state government appointed enrollment agencies went to the field, enrolled people, and we created Aadhaar, and thereafter, of course, uses of Aadhaar became a different ball game altogether. But here is a different game altogether. I am aware of that. We cannot do this project similar to Aadhaar. While we will use the Aadhaar lessons in this project, but I think the basic implementation mechanism will have to be completely collaborative, completely consultative, and that collaboration will be with influential leaders, thought leaders in the health sector, much more experienced leader. I have never worked in the health sector, but I am confident that I'll get your support, your help, your involvement in the process, and your knowledge and wisdom in designing this whole thing. So I am absolutely clear, Dr. Mahajan, Siddharth ji, and all our friends here, Dr. Lal, I am very clear that we are going to do it together, and only together we can do it. And let me also say one more thing. This is a win-win-win situation, sahab. Aap ye jaan lijiye. It is not going to adversely impact anybody. It is going to increase the size of the pie. To think of it from the health sector providers perspective. You are all providers. Now, from a provider's angle, it is not really, redesigning or redistributing the pie. It's actually going to increase the size of the pie manifold, because India, the health-seeking behavior of our countrymen, that needs a huge improvement, that needs a huge change, and that change will come if we can provide the, imagine, it's simple. When we started telephony, the call was costing 16 rupees 18 paisa. 16 rupees 80 paisa. 8 rupees 40 paisa to the person who was making a call, and 8 rupees 50 paisa per minute who was receiving the call. Now, there were only a few 100,000 telephones, and everybody was flaunting telephone instrument, this big size in their hand, saying that mere paas telephone. Today, everybody has telephone. 1 billion telephones in this country. And everybody is talking freely. People were giving missed calls in order to avoid that 8 rupees 40 paisa. Now nobody gives any missed calls. So essentially, India is a market which is extremely price sensitive market. You will not believe that the average recharge of a telephone in this country is just 10 rupees. 10 rupees अगर धरती पे पड़ा होगा तो हम लोग कहेंगे छोड़ो क्या जरूरत है, उसको उठाएंगे भी नहीं. 10 रुपया is the recharge, average recharge of a mobile. So people are, so once you reduce the sachet size is very small. India is a country of low value, high volume. And that's where we make the money. People just ask me, Sweden fellows, once I had gone to Sweden and they asked me, भैया आपका जो है ये ARPU जिसको बोलते हैं, average revenue per user per month from the telephone company. I was TRAI chairman at that time. So they said कि आपका 100 रुपए में कैसे काम चल जाता है. वो तो $1.5 होता है, हमारे यहाँ तो $150 है। हमने कहा भाई साहब आपकी पॉपुलेशन कितनी है? 10 मिलियन। 10 मिलियन $150 मल्टीप्लाई कीजिए कितना होगा, और हमारा 1 बिलियन में $2 मल्टीप्लाई कर दो कितना हो जाएगा? 2 बिलियन हो जाएगा। So basically it's a market. Banking, bank accounts were not being opened. Why they were not being opened? Because the account opening cost was minimum 100 rupees. The KYC was 100 rupees minimum. आप फलाना चिट्ठी लाइए किसी से, उसका KYC करिए, फिर उसके बाद. So no banker was interested in opening a bank account. But when Aadhaar came, Aadhaar electronic KYC came, you could open a bank account with 5 rupees. And therefore, Jan Dhan accounts, 300 million Jan Dhan accounts were opened in 300 days. So what I'm saying, proposing is that if you increase, if you reduce, if you sort of make it more affordable, more the health seeking behavior will go a transformation, and then the size of the pie will increase. So everybody will be benefited. That's the proposal, and that can happen only when we adopt digital. Because in physical, it will not happen, but phygital, it will happen. So digital plus physical, this is the way to go. And believe me, every segment of the health service provisioning is going to benefit by this project. So I am very happy to initiate this webinar, which is going to really, I commend Nat Health for undertaking this wonderful and beautiful mission to demystify, to tell people, to involve more and more stakeholders. And I can assure you, and I'll be happy to participate in further seminars also. Whenever you require me, I'll be there, very happy to interact with all of you. And I want to wish this webinar series, best wishes for its success. And I'm sure it should be able to bring about more and more people onto this platform and on to understand that we will create a history if we can really make it happen, because this has never been done at this scale anywhere in the world. And we are sure that the kind of things which the kind of architecture which we are putting in place, the kind of willingness and support which we are getting from the industry, I'm sure we will make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for those words of those pearls of wisdom. I'm sure everybody here in this hall, as well as those who are listening to us across all social media channels, they will be truly inspired with those words. And as our leaders mentioned, I'm sure that all the federations will work very jointly to take your message to every single member and every single industry person. We had a quick comment from Ms. Amira Shah, who is the Nat Health secretary and is as an office bearer of Nat Health. So while we have the privilege of having you, I think that quickly, Amira, if you can just maybe mention that comment, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddhartha. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much. That was a really fantastic vision that you just told us, and I think it's very exciting for all of us in healthcare to really see how the next 5 years are going to change. Myself, I represent Metropolis Labs in the diagnostics industry, and I just wanted to give one input as we are going down this journey. Like you rightly said, accessibility is going to be at the forefront of this entire digital mission. And one of the challenges that we have always had as healthcare service providers in healthcare, in the traditional healthcare world, is that because there has been almost no barrier to entry for new players to come in, there has been a complete mishmash of all kinds of quality in hospitals, nursing homes, labs, doctors, all across the board. And often we see that there is no minimum standard that's really followed. And often the brand of healthcare in India gets tarnished and spoiled often, because sometimes there are apples in the basket that are not following any minimum standard, and the patient lands up getting cheated, unfortunately, in the bargain. As we are going on to this new digital channel, this could be a great opportunity to clean up some of this mess that we have seen in the physical world. And if we could use that enforcement through the digital channels, where we do put some KYCs, we put some minimum standards, if you want to participate in the digital world, that could be one way of really cleaning up healthcare, which otherwise, enforcing in a physical world is very, very difficult. That was one. And the second thought was that we are seeing a lot of platforms who are trying to aggregate health providers in different ways. And this is a good thing. But again, we need to put some guidelines on what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, because the most important person in healthcare is the doctor. And the doctor has to be kept relevant and has to be kept important and rewarded fairly. It would be a very sad day if we found that the aggregators are making very large amounts of money and the poor doctors are left behind. So just some suggestions, sir, if we could also make some guidelines for how digital health should function, that gives everybody an equal playing field in this entire situation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ameera. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Praveen Gedam, the Mission Director, Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission and Additional CEO, National Health Authority. Dr. Praveen Gedam is an IS 2002 batch senior officer and an MBBS doctor. He has held several important positions in his career and was the private secretary to the Union Cabinet Minister of Railways in the Government of India. He had earlier served the government of Maharashtra in various capacities.
Siddharthi, I'm sorry, I have another meeting, so I'm signing off.
Sir, it was a pleasure having you, sir. It's a privilege.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mahajan. Thank you.
Dr. Gedam was the Transport Commissioner of Maharashtra, where he spearheaded a massive computerization exercise. He also served as Municipal Commissioner and District Collector of numerous cities and districts. At the cutting-edge field level, Dr. Gedam was responsible for critical government interventions concerning socio-economic development, including those in public health. He is known for the turnaround in maternal and child health indicators in Latur, one of the most backward districts of the state, due to targeted interventions, systematic checkups, and massive community mobilization exercises. In 2015, he was entrusted with organizing and managing the mega event of Kumbh Mela in Nashik, which is one of the largest human congregations on earth. At NHA, he is holding the torch to move forward Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. Sir, it's our privilege to invite you. You are, along with Dr. R.A. Sharma ji, you are spearheading a change at a massive level at this time. It will be great to hear your thoughts and your expectations also from private sector in this journey. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Thanks for introducing, and also thanks Nat Health for organizing this wonderful series of webinars. I'll start off with the quote that Ms. Ameera Shah made. She was referring to the mess in which we all are living. And I remember one of experience in my earlier posting, when we randomly sent teams to find how many fake doctors or bogus doctors are out there. And we could arrest 54 doctors in a district in just one day. And many of them were practicing with the fake degrees from XYZ college. And one can imagine the implications in the public health of all this kind of widespread and rampant lack of regulation. And there are so many such examples. And that is how these experiences we are building upon and developing when we are designing various modules of this ABDM. Now we call it Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So the element of trust in the registries become very important in Indian context. So that is the reason why we say that when we were talking about architecture, we take responsibility of core modules, we take responsibility of registries, provide a single source of truth, and allow the industry to innovate in the market. And that's how we are moving forward. I have a very small presentation, but I will just to keep you, I think screen sharing is disabled, if somebody can, but I can start by that time. So basically what, can you enable the screen sharing, please?
Jaita, can you please confirm that?
Yes, we are on it. We are on it. Yeah.
But I can start otherwise. So the problem that we intend to solve is exactly this. Citizens do not have information. It's a tremendous asymmetry of information. Doctors have a problem. Citizen comes, please show me your earlier records. वो घूम गए. It never happens with the say property records or some other educational certificates, but invariably happens with medical records. So they don't have complete medical history of patient. When we are talking at the level of policymakers, for example, COVID was going on. How many beds with ventilators, with oxygen are available in India? We had to compile that information from scratch. So all these problems are there in the, I hope this is visible now, yeah, that we try to solve by creating a framework which will enable everybody to kind of have a layer running on the top of these 4 digital layers that we are building. And that's what I will explain. It may be a kind of repetition for some of you, but I think to set the proper context before we move for discussion, I think this is important. So as I said, we want to have single source of truth. I just explained it. Second is federated architecture. Now you imagine all the health data. If we have a server which says all the hospitals are directed to keep their data in this server, it's not going to work politically. Technically, it may be possible, but the issue is of political reasons also. So what we are saying that the architecture is federated. So whatever hospital X, laboratory Y, or some other institution Z, they are using their systems, please continue to use their systems. We don't want to interfere. What we are going to do is to provide only linkages through core modules and health information exchange. And this also adds to the element of security, because that federated architecture do not allow a building of a centralized data, but it allows interoperability through open APIs. We will see how the architecture looks like in a schematic way. And many of industry players in private, they talk about standards. So I visited a lot of hospitals, including some of the members who are present here, and I'm very happy that particularly in high-end private hospitals, this standardization has started, but it is not seen in with GPs and primary health centers, etc. Dr. R.S. Sharma spoke about privacy and security by design, user inclusivity, etc. So I will not get much deeper into that. What we are going ahead with is a building of these 3 core registries. We already have 140 million, almost 14 crore health IDs generated in India right now. 96% of them are linked with Aadhaar, remaining are linked with mobile number, and we are giving an alternative option now for last few weeks to link it with driving license also. Going forward, linkages with PAN, linkages with a passport, so that Aadhaar is not made mandatory, because it cannot be made mandatory by way of because of legal provisions. So this will provide us very strong KYC, which may be useful. For example, if somebody is approaching an insurance industry for getting himself insured, so it will provide a KYC and kind of ease for that insurance industry to onboard him. It will provide a facility, a feature to a treating doctor or a hospital by using this health ID to access all his past records across different players. So this is the importance of that linkage that this health ID is going to provide. And similar kind of KYC or trust element for healthcare professionals. We have started with doctors and dentists, but we are soon going to have nurses, paramedics, etc., etc. And healthcare, and all of them are going to be mandatorily verified by the respective medical councils. So these quacks entering or somebody trying to show higher qualification than what he is, it's not possible here. And whatever features cannot be verified, they will be clearly marked as a self-declared. So one cannot go and verify everything. But to add that element of trust, we are going to verify. And for healthcare facility registry also, similarly, we are having a up-to-date registry of all facilities. So our CEO spoke about Aadhaar and these our common digital public goods that we have in India, and which are schematically represented in the bottom layer of this slide. What we have developed and are in the process of developing is the layer number 2 from bottom, a common public digital good, particularly digital registries, which will be, and some of the APIs have been published, other APIs are under development, and these APIs, using these APIs, all the players like you can have your own digital solutions integrated into it for various purposes. And we are leaving it to the market forces the way you want to use this. For example, if some company comes out with a mobile app which provides facility of storing health record from all the healthcare providers at one place, something like DigiLocker. In fact, DigiLocker is also integrating it and providing the same facility. It should be out soon. Arogya Setu has also started moving towards that direction, and we are very hopeful because they have almost 200 million downloads. So it will provide a one-stop storage for health record for a person from across health facilities. Recently, I was in Bangalore talking to various startups, etc. I saw one startup also adding a layer of analytics on the top of it. So it had that NLP kind of algorithm which was reading the PDFs and creating graphs of say blood sugar level, HB1AC from across different laboratories. So all these innovations have already started happening, and I'm very happy to share more than 600 such integrations are going on in our sandbox. And we are also providing individual case-to-case support for hand-holding, because we understand it's a very new area. Similarly, HIMS, LMIS or LIMS that various hospitals are using, and particularly private hospitals have very good hospital information systems. So the integration is going to allow all the doctors to see records of the patient with consent, of course, from all other hospitals, labs, etc. So that's how this architecture has been designed, and at no place we are going to store the health records. What we are also going to do, so we have two broad groups. What I can say is health information provider and health information user, and we are in the center. So what we are doing by sitting in the center, we are providing that KYC of various entities, and we are confirming that actual consent has been provided by the patient before the records are shared. So let us say currently the record, for example, of reproductive and child health, the Asha Bahan going to various villages and recording the blood pressure, anemia, etc., etc. It stays in the register of Asha and also in the IT system of government. It generally is not with the patient. And let us presume such a pregnant lady goes to a private hospital. Because RCH is getting integrated, if she shares her health ID, the treating obstetrician will have access to the data which is available in the government system. So this is how the architecture has been designed. And now you can imagine the kind of use cases that one can have. And we are saying that now on the top of this, please have as much as innovation as possible. Suppose your hospital or laboratory or your institution has an app which provides obviously information only from your institution. It can also have a folder which will provide a storage facility for storing information from all the other healthcare providers. So this interoperability is the key here. Another fundamental principle is that we intend to go with the open network. Currently, what is happening, the platforms are all these are there closed. It's like Amazon. You want to sell something on Amazon or Flipkart, you as a seller have to join that platform, and you have as a consumer has also to join that platform. And this is how things are operating in the digital world also. The concept of open protocol breaks these barriers, breaks these silos. So for example, you can send email from Yahoo to Hotmail and Hotmail to Gmail, right? So something like that. If you are using one app, probably the doctor is using other app, getting connected through a UHI, which word coming from UPI, and we hope that the handshake is possible in the digital world, and we intend to roll out the APIs for this in the near future. I think user journey, I need not talk to this particular group of audience because use cases you all can imagine, but this is just one example that I have tried to show here. What ultimately is going to happen is you are going to drive. We are not happy with the creation of the that particular dhacha or ghar or house. We want that people should come and populate it. People should come and live here. And the industry, we are looking forward with great hope that will come and use this architecture to make India's siloed, fragmented, and disparate digital solutions come together to form a interoperable and a state-of-the-art ecosystem so that everybody is benefited. Currently, we are having, say, 1 or 2 million teleconsultations, which is very, I think 1 lakh or something, which is very less for the size of India. We don't want to divide this existing pie. We want to increase the size of pie so that everybody benefits, and these digital transactions, digital records, analytics, access, quality, we can address it in a proper way. Lastly, I need not again explain the advantages of this for different stakeholders, but doctors, obviously, they can have access to the records. We already had a round of discussions, numerous of them, and there is a kind of unanimity that various state medical councils will also start having their processes running on doctors registry, so that various processes such as renewal, continuing medical education points, they can be done through this platform. Similarly, for various healthcare providers, hospitals, pharmacies, diagnostic labs, we can provide API-based access to various regulatory bodies. And if the healthcare provider wants, then they can allow the regulatory body to pull that data so that it becomes a single window kind of a solution. If they don't want to provide, they can avoid that. So, and obviously, health tech startup, the most important advantage I can see is that they are no more required to go and verify the entities for their trustworthiness and such other attributes. They can purely focus on their business needs and their innovations. So I think that gives a fair amount of idea about what this mission is trying to do. And I will stop here and will rather like to have a conversation with you all, address your queries if you have, and would urge you to participate. You have participated in tremendous numbers, both on our sandbox and today's webinar, but would like to address queries if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for that presentation. One of the things, we're going to hear from all the federations shortly. But before we do that, in terms of some next steps, this entire webinar is getting a microsite is created already. We have received so far over 50 questions. We hope that we'll be able to take up some of these questions later today. But our objective would be, and my request to all the federations would be to take the microsite and send it to each and every nook and corner of the industry, and see that collectively we can get all the queries into one place, and hopefully we can get it posted in the microsite so everybody has the benefit of that information. So the facts are out there, and as we do this multi-episode webinar series, all the facts and figures of NDHM and what is expected through these questions will get clarified. I also request everybody who is listening to this webinar on the Facebook, Twitter, the other social media channels to kindly just subscribe so that any next update. We have not asked intentionally for registration today, but for the next time we are going to post the next webinar series, all information will be put up on the social handles and you will get intimated if you do so. So I would request, I would kind of go alphabetically with all the federations. Maybe that's a good way to do it. And I'll start requesting Dr. Girdhar Gyani from AHPI to come in, please, sir, for your remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I have been, saying one thing, that National Digital Health Mission will be the game changer for our country. The way we are the leaders in IT world over, this particular one program will elevate our healthcare, which actually has proven in many accounts that, that in tertiary care, critical care, we may be short in the supply, but the quality, whichever limited number hospital we have got, we are not less than anyone world over. So I think the National Digital Health Mission is going to help us in spreading, moving forward. And really, I'm saying that in next 3 years, I'm saying we will be on the top of the world in the healthcare, thanks to the National Digital Health Mission. And I think the team of Dr. Sharma and Dr. Praveen, I think the way they are working, I have no doubt in my mind. And we can only support them, like the Harsh Mahajan said, we are all together on one account. That let government call us. Only sometimes my worry is that many times government doesn't engage with us. I'm not talking of the NHA. NHA is a different game. But we are available to you. Please utilize us. We have the best of the experts. We are with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gyani. Would like to request Dr. Upasana Arora from ASSOCHAM to come in, please. Thank you. If you can kindly unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It was wonderful to listen both the speakers from NHA, and as a industry and as a healthcare provider, I must say that digitization is really required for the industry. It is really helpful for both the parties, for the patient as well as the healthcare provider. So it's a very great initiative, and I would like that we need to go further, and with the help of each other. We need to help each other, and then we will get us a good solution, and we will be able to 100% digitize. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Request Dr. Sushmita Bhatnagar from AMC to come in, please.
A very good evening, and excellent presentation, as well as the foresight which the ABDM has to transform India. It is commendable, absolutely amazing. And I really, we are all with you, as mentioned by everyone. I have some few queries also. Can I put them across just now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. First thing is, now all these data will be collated. Supposing if I am a hospital owner, as well as, there are multiple things here in this. I am a hospital owner as well as a healthcare professional, as a doctor, and I will also be a patient at some point of stage. So will I be having 3 different numbers, and for every matter, will I be logging in and with a different number? And how do we integrate this?
Yes, actually, it's a small anecdote I will tell. Initially, we started with single number. The idea was that one number can play different roles, right? And we gave those kind of numbers to doctors, so he could use patient portal using the same number, and doctor portal also using the same number, but in capacity as a doctor. And there was a lot of resistance from one particular union territory. They were afraid that they will be forced we explained it to them, but then later on realized that this will happen everywhere in India. And then we separated the 2 sets of numbers. So therefore we right now have one doctor ID and one patient ID. And that's how it has evolved. And I don't think what we are also doing, login using email, login using Aadhaar, login using face, login using mobile number, all these options are being developed already by various product developers. So one need not actually remember all these numbers. You remember whatever suits you and go ahead. So that's how it has evolved over the last 1 year.
Wow, that's great. There are also so many hospitals, as well as doctors, as well as private players. They have so many apps already there. Some of them are already in use. So you have mentioned that they will all be integrated, but all of them have a different format. So how will all of these be integrated? Meaning, I don't need the nitty-gritties of the integration, But what I am trying to get at is, supposing if it is integrated, and supposing if I have a app, I have a MIS system, and that crashes, and then if I ask the ABDM for the data that has been already collated on your site, so will it be feasible or possible to retract all the data?
I repeat, we are not collating any data. Please understand, if you remember that slide, we at the center were there only to facilitate the handshake between two entities. So it's like a common protocol on which internet runs, right? You send email from Yahoo to Gmail, it goes from Yahoo to Gmail. If it goes, then Gmail is having that data. At Yahoo crashes, Gmail has that data, but we are not providing any storage for any data except 3 registries. And we are also thinking of coming up with the 4th registry, drug registry, the consultation paper for which will be out very soon on our portal in the next month. So if it is advised that your HIS providers have the adequate arrangements of security, backup, DR they call it, data recovery, data storage, etc. And we are just providing connecting links. That's how the architecture has been designed. And this is actually very unique for our this thing. We are just breaking the silos and facilitating transfer of data across different HIS, which is not seen in many developed countries as well.
Right. So, sir, will there be any cost attached to this?
We are providing services free of cost. It is up to the developers to decide what cost they charge from their consumers. It's a public good, free of cost.
Thank you, Ms. Bhatnagar. Would like to request Mr. Gautam Khanna from AOH to come in, please. Thank you.
Dr. Gadam, firstly, good evening, and thank you for the wonderful, encouraging words you said. And Dr. Sharma also, they energized all of us. So thank you for that. And so now you already discussed about the integration, and you said you are not going to have any data storage. So I have 2 questions and a suggestion. So my first suggestion is that, is it possible to give some kind of incentives or some kind of gentle nudge to hospitals and professionals to adopt this? Because the success of this program will be if everybody adopts it. So that is the true interoperability. So that's one suggestion. We can think of how to give some incentives. Second, the comment is that if there is no storage at the government level, will the NDHM, will the NDHM specify any format for storing the data in the various hospitals? Will there be a standard format? So now all hospitals have a different format today. So how will the transition happen? So there's just, you don't need an answer, just a question for thought. Last thing I want to ask is that in case there is a privacy breach from hospital 1, the data is being accessed by hospital 2 through this exchange, and it is a leak, who will be responsible? How will the responsibility be fixed about the privacy, patient confidentiality? So some thoughts on this now or later would be very helpful. Thank you, but excellent initiative for us, for the country.
Should I listen to all these comments and then respond?
Yes, sure.
To yeah?
Sure, sir.
Can do both ways.
I request Mr. Anirudh Sen from APAC Med to come in, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth, and good evening, everyone. So I represent APAC Med. We are a regional trade association for medical technology industry. So on behalf of APAC Med, let me first congratulate the Government of India on this very relevant and futuristic agenda. I think the major impetus is being given to digital health in India, which is quite evident from these initiatives that we are seeing. Also, India being a signatory to the World Health Resolution on Digital Health. Being a very rapidly evolving space, policies on digital health regulations will also develop in time, but we feel that the success of this mission would lie in the clarity of its objectives and the principles to the whole stakeholder ecosystem which will participate in its implementation. And therefore, on behalf of our members, we would like to seek a seat at the table on behalf of the medical device and diagnostic industry, which we feel is a very important stakeholder in this mission, being the technology provider, an infrastructure provider for hospitals. There are various ways where we can add value. We can support in developing interoperability standards, data privacy standards, and the complete data governance and infrastructure. We can also help in pilot, scale, and operationalize interconnection of the systems. MedTech can also help in setting up the data policy framework. And I think if we are involved in these, then we can become true partners to the system. So looking forward to engaging more with the government, and wish the mission all the success. Thank you.
Request Brigadier Dr. Arvind Lal to come in from FICCI, please. Thank you. Sir, you're on mute. Sir, you are still on mute. Okay, we'll come back to you, sir. Let's go to Mr. Prashant Sharma from Indian Chamber of Commerce, please.
Good evening, everybody, and good evening, Dr. Praveen. Firstly, thanks for breaking it down to such simple terms that fools like us, like me, can understand in basic terms what is going to happen. So you have done great justice to the word of demystifying. My question to you, sir, is that it's really a fantastic transition and transformation once everything is digitized. What we have seen in our communication, whether it is over mobile or whether it is banking, financial services, etc. I think the healthcare services will also benefit greatly, just the way finance services has. And it's transforming every day, every few months, we are hearing of a new innovation, whether it's Paytm or etc., etc. So once this is on a digital framework architecture, I think that is also something that is going to happen in the healthcare space. Now coming to my question specifically, will this also lead to treatment protocols? Because we have seen that same patient, same history treated differently in different places. Will this also lead to specific guidelines set by the government or advised by the government and specific protocols as to how the patient with a certain type of history must be treated and not beyond? In that sense, will it be restrictive or will it be, how would it go about?
Yeah, I'll respond to that.
Thank you.
Sir, you would like to hear out everyone and then respond at the end, probably, right, sir?
Whatever suits you.
Okay. We have a few more coming up. So over to Dr. Samir Gupta from PhD Chamber of Commerce, please.
Dr. Lal is ready, Siddhartha. Dr. Lal is ready to speak.
Dr. Lal, we can't hear you still. You are still on mute.
Sir, you are still on mute, sir. Dr. Lal, you are still on mute.
Okay, let's come back to you, sir. Dr. Samir Gupta from PhD Chamber of Commerce, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddhartha. And thank you, Dr. Praveen. I think this was fantastic. And this entire thing that we are doing in the National Digital Health Mission is absolutely fantastic. Having worked on both in the transatlantic world and being used to digital medical records in my time in the US, the patient history is absolute. The old history and old data is so important. I'm a cardiologist, and I can tell you that sometimes patients have long-lasting EKG changes, ECG changes, and they come to you now with chest pain, and they show you an ECG, and you look at these ECG changes, and they may be old, but now you don't know that. So I think with this kind of data, this is really going to help improve the quality of care that the patient is getting, and it will also help the doctors make the correct decisions. I'm actually another point is that I'm actually very excited with the data that is going to come out. Every time I go to international conferences, every time we are talking at a medical meeting, we always say that, oh, we don't have enough healthcare data from India. What is the incidence of diabetes in patients who have heart disease in the Indian subcontinent under 40 years of age? Once this is implemented, we will get that data and really giddy with excitement with the prospects of how that will help us improve care and give us prognostic things. One thing which I wanted to point out, sir, that the digitization is going to come at a cost to the healthcare providers. If you're running a hospital, now you need 40 more computers. These computers need an IT person. They need internet connection. They need routers. So do factor that cost somewhere along the way to the providers as we go forward. And also, sir, one more point as as a healthcare provider that I can mention is that I know a speaker before me mentioned about treatment protocols. Also try and integrate maybe in phase 2 or phase 3 preventive health checkups. That, for example, there are guidelines that anybody who's more than 60 years of age, who's ever smoked a cigarette, should get a screening for AAA. Any lady more than 40 years of age should get a mammogram. So try and integrate these kind of things also it'll be very simple to do, but if you can try and integrate some of these things, maybe in phase 2, phase 3, that'll also help in the patient care. But I think this is a fantastic initiative, and we're very excited to be a part of it. And we really look forward to this becoming a success, and you have all our support, sir.
So Dr. Lal, sir, now we can see you unmuted. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Siddhartha. Dr. Gedam, first of all, I have already put across my thoughts, from FICCI, and so I would not like to repeat what I have said. I have got one suggestion, and that is that many years ago, the National Health Service of England, they were here, for a seminar, and their Director General or CEO, I don't remember what his designation was, the chief was. He told me very clearly, he says that when the electronic health records were introduced in England, there was a lot of opposition from the doctor's side. So this we must keep in mind, that when these things have been made, there should be some kind of a thing when we launch it. Imagine that the only people who were against it were the British doctors, when they introduced this. So that's the only suggestion at the moment which I have, and we look forward to a very nice innings henceforth. Thank you.
Most pertinent suggestion.
Ms. Thankam Gomez from ANEI, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Siddhartha. Thank you, Dr. Praveen. I'm just simply excited. I think I attended one of the meetings a couple of years ago on Digital Mission. And today, as I sit down and hear this so ambitious plan, I'm very proud that I'm Indian. And I was talking in an international conference last week, and I was very proudly talking about the percentage of vaccination coverage and how Ayushman Bharat's app, if I want my vaccination certificate, yesterday I was trying to look for it. I went into that app and I just downloaded my certificate. It was so easy. What I'm looking forward is that the last mile, the people who are illiterate, when they see a doctor, when their records get uploaded, when they go to someone else, they don't have to repeat the history. And I'm sure that doctors here already mentioned about the previous history. It's so difficult for patients to repeat the same thing so many times to so many different doctors. And people are so mobile from one state to other. So just into one site, they get everything. That means the treatment will go in the right manner. And I think there is no limitation to the AI, what it can do with all the data that's going to come in. And India can hugely benefit, whether it is preventive, curative, whichever format we look at it. And so I can only say, like in everybody else, I'm proud to be an Indian, and I'm very proud to be sitting here and listening to you, Dr. Parveen. All the best, and we are always with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Request Mr. Afraz Alam from MTI to come in, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is Afraz Alam from the Secretariat of Medical Technology Association of India. So thank you so much for the kind invitation, and we are expecting Mr. Chaudhary to join shortly. So the comments that we have from MTI will be submitting shortly, sir.
Okay. Last but not the least, Dr. Prasanna from FANA, please.
Hi, thank you, Siddharth, and hello to Dr. Praveen and others. Definitely, we are all excited about this digital mission. We have been looking forward how it's going to be rolled out and implemented. Especially, 60% of our members are small and medium level hospitals, especially tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It's a huge challenge for them to get a software hospital management system. So once you have this open-ended platform, that will make a huge difference to most of these hospitals who can't afford a software of their own. And I hope, like my previous speaker spoke, these patient data makes a huge difference, especially when we present our series outside and when we see a patient. I, being an orthopedic surgeon, all our patients come with tons of X-rays and MRIs with them. So the digital platform will make it so convenient so that it becomes easy for us to review these patients. And even before a patient visits the doctor's clinic, we could have seen most of the records and be ready to go ahead with the treatment protocol. And lot of many more exciting avenues are there. And I hope the government of India has taken this huge initiative, and we would love to be part of it and proud of this initiative. And our support and advisors and creativeness will be a part of your initiative, sir. And I wish you all the best in this endeavor. Thank you, Siddharth.
Sir, before we hand the mic back to you, I must mention that there are a lot of questions that have come in live as we are speaking from all the YouTube channels, social channels. Sir, if we were to broadly, I'm hoping that we can answer these questions in a written form even after the event and post it back into the microsite. But broadly, the 4 or 5 categories of questions, really, if you were to group them, one is really around change management, and particularly for the smaller providers, smaller players, the relevant infrastructure related costs. What does digital health mission entail? And that seems to be a number of questions around what they should prepare for in terms of the transition. Second is really those organizations that don't have CIOs or technology officers. What sort of skilling for the smaller players need to be adopted, and how would they kind of have access to that? Third is really around the change around patient behavior required, because a lot of the patients, as we move away from metros particularly, are not even comfortable with online appointment making. So what sort of awareness and campaigns that needs to be done? And also the role of private sector. There are a couple of questions that have come in. I'll just read them out. One is 3 questions that has just come in live. With healthcare being digitized, centralized like US to protect the sensitive healthcare data, should we expect something like HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act? What is the role of each of the digital institutional partners of market access program of NHA? Then there's a question from Dr. H.S. Madan, who's also from the Ayushman Bharat Mission. Will there be integration of all health data from primary immunization, national health program, secondary and tertiary care data? What is the format that will be used in any standard format? Also, do payments made to doctors, hospitals, or medical stores, are these getting collected for the purposes of insurance reimbursement? And in small districts, how would you implement and aware people about ABDM? So broadly, these are the buckets of questions. I'd like to kind of hand it back to you for maybe a quick summary answer, whichever way you would like to take them.
Yeah, I would obviously too many questions I have noted. What I will do, you please also pass on these questions. We will have our frequently asked questions updated based on this feedback.
Yes, sir.
So that whatever I am going to miss now will hopefully be addressed there.
Certainly.
But broadly, change management is the issue. A doctor is having a OPD of 50 and 100. He is writing in his own handwriting, which is a mix of English and a shorthand, and nobody. So it's happening very quickly. We should not make the life of doctor or OPD registration clerk or a nurse more difficult in no way. So many HIS, they now have features like a predictive test, favorite list, and so it is actually not making life difficult. I have seen it personally, not only in private but in government hospital as well. So that is one thing which we are also recommending when it comes to selection of HMIS or HIS. I know there is some element of change management here, but it's not as difficult as if one reads the case studies of UK and USA particularly, where even after paying the money to doctors, things didn't move forward. And we are also not saying that from the day one, please go 100% digital. We have specifically saying that please go step by step. Secondly, about the cost, we are not having any additional hardware. Please remember, whatever you already have on your OPD desk. I hope I am audible because I see some images frozen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So you already have registration, billing, a computer in each ward, particularly in private setup and also coming up in government setup. So hardware additionally is not required. Software, I understand the cost of HIS can be prohibitory. What we are promoting simultaneously is the development of kind of open source, modular, scalable, multi-tenant HIS, which can be serviced by multiple players in India. This is parallel track that is going on. With the help of industry, you also can come forward, and hopefully this software as a service, a cloud-based, web-based solution, we hope that multiple providers will soon spring up from in all the parts of country, providing a cheap solution to starting from GPs, small hospitals, etc. You need not have your own CIO, so to say. So India, our focus is on high volume and low value game, low value kind of game. So we are actually actively pushing that. In fact, our UHI, we were discussing it today. We are considering two options. One can be hire a agency to develop this UHI platform. The other is go on GitHub and request the community to develop. So we are actively considering that, and those of you who are into that field can also consider participating. So we are trying to bring the cost also down significantly. Patient behavior, we already have inclusivity as one of the fundamental principles. So the health ID comes with a QR code. So you just need to go show your mobile or health ID printout. And we have tested it technologically also. The demographic data is pulled, the history is pulled. So things become seamless. And I think that is not a challenge anymore in India, which has successfully seen Paytms and Google Pays and Phone Pays of the world scale up their operations multiple times. But the role of private sector, it becomes very critical here. The way more innovative, easy to use, user-friendly products with good user experience they come out with, that will be really helpful. We have, I don't see it as a challenge, in fact, because we have done our pilot in Ladakh, Andaman, Lakshadweep, and such far-flung areas, and have seen it with very good response from all of them. In fact, even pilot, Mr. Sen was speaking about pilot. Once our UPI, a complete set of APIs are published, we will encourage, if you can also participate in a particular kind of POC. I want to test this kind of telemedicine platform with this group of doctors. We are going to encourage you. Let us say Nat Health wants to have their Nat Health pilot. This is a new product that I'm coming with. Perhaps let us say group consultation, because we have now one-to-one consultation. But can we think of something like a patient going to GP doubting that something is a complex, but the patient cannot travel to city. So let's get connected to whichever specialist is available currently, and let me have a group call. Something like this also you can think of. So sky is the limit when you think of any additional options. I just want to highlight this data point also. Though we don't have data, we can also have engines which will ensure aggregation, anonymization, so that better analysis is done. So we come to know where is the hotspot for a particular disease, a particular strain of bacteria getting resistant to particular antibiotic in this part of India, so that we can do suitable course correction. Somebody was asking about STGs. We already have standard treatment guidelines for 635 procedures on our PMJY portal, but we understand biology is not 1 + 1 = 2. Doctors have to have flexibility. These STGs are only for the purpose of payment, so that when there is a deviation from STG, we can go deeper into that particular claim to see whether the whatever procedure was done was actually justified or not. Otherwise, it's very difficult to hard code things into 1 + 1 = 2 in medical sector. But we are already moving in that direction. I was having a call with NHS Digital last week, and I'm very happy to share they were also very excited with this. And somebody was talking about opportunities out of this initiative. I told them that, okay, I know that you guys have a lot of waiting list, so we will be happy to provide you access in case, because a lot of cities and hospitals in India are hubs for medical tourism also. So why not open up this platform so that Indian healthcare providers can bring the foreign revenue and also expand their businesses through our platform. That was also primarily discussed. There are a lot of things actually, but I would like to sum up finally because we are running out of time, I understand. And I will have all your questions, most of them answered in our updated frequently asked question part of our portal, so that and I would also request that once, please keep watch on our portal. We will be publishing more and more offers of collaboration, and we want to have a level playing field for everybody, because this is a very delicate area, upcoming area. We don't want to give any advantage to anybody. So we will be publishing all our initiatives. We are continuously publishing all our initiatives on our portal. Sandbox, list of sandbox entrants are there. And we are providing active support to everybody. Today itself, I told that let us send one more email to all the active sandbox participants that in case they require some help, please reach out to us. So we'll continue in that direction, and whatever new ideas of collaboration come to your mind, please reach out to us. We will be very happy to move forward in a collaborative fashion. Thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth, for your this wonderful webinar.
So thank you, sir. I would like to, we are at the end of the allotted time. Actually, we are a few minutes over the time. But I would like to recognize my team led by Anesha, Anugrah, and Vrinda, who have actually done all the hard work in putting this entire webinar together. And thanks to the entire leadership team of NHA and all our friends and colleagues from all other federations. Thank you to the presidents of NatHealth, led by Dr. Harsh Mahajan. I would request Anesha, if you would kindly maybe give a formal vote of thanks. And sir, we'll follow through with everything what we have said. We will reconvene. My request to all the federations here is, please reach out to the entire membership base, and let's get a critical nucleus. All it takes is 20% people out of 100% to be the change bearers. Rest 80% will come along. So to the extent we can build that 20% coalition who wants to move forward, I think we would have achieved our purpose. Over to you, Anesha. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Siddharth, and thank you, everyone, each and every one of you for joining the session today. I have personally benefited from this session and assume the same for you. It is such an honor for me to get this opportunity to thank you all the dignitaries. On behalf of NatHealth, I would like to express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates for this webinar, for their presence and their contribution. My special thanks to our keynote speaker, Dr. R.S. Sharma and Dr. Praveen Gedam, to take out time from their busy schedules and enlighten us on this topic. I would also like to thank Sankalp, Vikram, Babita, Rajiv from the NHA team for their support in getting this series in this shape. Many thanks to my NatHealth presidents, Dr. Harsh Mahajan, our past president, Dr. Arvind Lal, Mr. Darjeet Singh, and the entire NatHealth leadership team for providing immense support always. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all the federation leaders who have joined us today and have always been very supportive. My special thanks to Dr. Girdhar Gyani, Dr. Upasana Arora from ASSOCHAM, Dr. Sushmita Bhatnagar from AMC, Mr. Anirudh Singh from APACMed, Dr. Arvind Lal from FICCI and from NatHealth, Prashant Sharma from ICC, Dr. Samir Gupta from PhD Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Thankam Gomez from ANEI, MTI representatives, and Dr. Prasanna from PANA. I also must thank my organizing team, the volunteers who have worked hard for the past few days to make this webinar in this shape. My special thanks to the Avian team and HealthBiz for their support. A big thank you to all of you. Just wanted to let you know that we will be back next week with Mr. Abhishek Kumar, Director IT from NHA, to talk about the design and infrastructure aspects of the ABTM. So stay tuned and keep reading about all this, about all these webinars on our blog, nathealthseries.com, and you can watch all our videos, including this session, on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe us. So till then, bye-bye and take care.
Thank you, Anesha. Thank you, Dr. Gedam. Really a privilege. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.